I'm going to say something that people probably wouldn't expect, and I think it may lead to a discussion between you and me.
Okay.
I am often critical of Kyle Shanahan, but I believe sincerely that he is handling the quarterback position in training camp exactly the right way. I
Mm-hmm.
not only have no problems with what he's doing, I think he's doing the right thing, and I'd like to explain. And then you can, disagree, and we could talk about it if you want. Um, he has decided. What are you laughing at?
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about it. Where it's a show. No, you just talk, and then I'll sit there and be like, I liked it. That was a good. Let's move on. Yeah, I think we will.
Thank you, Dad. Okay,
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan has made a decision that Brock Purdy is his starting quarterback. It's clear he's made that decision. When a coach makes that decision, not only is he entitled, but he should give that quarterback the bulk of the reps with the first team. It's his obligation to do that. And the other three guys, or however many guys, are in camp. Are you paying attention?
I'm looking for a pen so I can write down my points so I don't forget them when I just destroy you in this argument. Keep going. Go ahead. It's fine.
Oh,
No, I can
okay.
remember it.
All
I
right.
can make mental notes.
Okay. Um, the other three guys, or whatever training camp team it is, Dallas or whatever, they get what's left over. That's that's how it is. That's how it was. I mean, when Joe Montana was the quarterback and Jeff Kemp was the backup, no one said, "Oh, Jeff should get a equal amount as Joe or almost as many as Joe." The hell with that. Joe got all the reps. Brock Purdy, you have a stupid look on your face. Brock Purdy.
I know you're not comparing Brock Purdy to Joe Montana. Keep going.
No, I'm not. I'm just
No.
comparing the situations.
Sure.
That's all I'm doing. And I'm saying,
I'm hydrating.
Shanahan, yeah, good, because you're going to need to for this.
It's important.
Kyle Shanahan made his decision. This kid is my starter. As a result, he would be a bad head coach not to give him most of the first team reps. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, everybody else, including Trey Lance, is just a guy. Just a guy. Trey Lance, they traded all those draft picks for him. That's, in fact, a footnote. Trey Lance is just a guy like Darnold and that other, whatever his name is. That's how I look at it. What do you think?
First of all, Kyle Shanahan has not named Brock Purdy the starting quarterback. Called him the leader in the clubhouse. They've said stuff like that. I even asked Brock Purdy at his press conference a few days ago, has Kyle Shanahan said that you're going to start week one barring setback? And he said, absolutely not. So Kyle's sort of having it both ways. It's a quarterback competition, but Brock doesn't have to compete, but he hasn't been named the starter yet, and he can't practice every day. So to me, if you haven't named him the starting quarterback, and he only has 8 career starts, and he's coming off a serious injury, and he doesn't look that great in camp, which he hasn't, maybe he should be competing too. Maybe the decision to just anoint Brock Purdy the starting quarterback after a serious injury is the wrong decision. And that's how I feel.
Okay. Whether or not it's the right decision, we'll come back to that. And you may have a point. It may be the wrong decision. I'm not talking about that. I feel it's clear that Brock Purdy is going to be the starting quarterback unless he completely falls apart. That's my working assumption. I know he hasn't said it. Kyle is very coy. He likes to leave every exit door open for himself. I understand that. I'm assuming he's the leader in the clubhouse, whatever cliche you want to use. As a result, the way you know it, he gets most of the reps with the first team, more than the other 3 just guys. That's what I think. Now, whether or not it's the right decision, let's come back to that in a minute, because I have one other thing I want to say about Trey Lance. I believe there is certain people hate him and want him gone. But other people, there's a cult of Trey Lance. He's getting screwed. It's not fair. They gave up all those draft choices for him. He should have an equal shot with Brock Purdy. My attitude is this. Life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. Maybe it's not fair to him. Too bad. I'm not in the cult of Trey Lance. I don't care which quarterback wins. They're not in my family. I don't get paid. I don't care if it's Brock Purdy or if it's Sam Darnold or if it's Trey Lance. I just care if it's the best guy. And if it means that Trey Lance doesn't get what people consider a fair shot, too bad. The head coach is entitled to favor, and not only entitled, must favor one over another. Has to do it. So I don't feel a lot of stuff I've heard. Oh, it's not fair to Trey. He should demand a trade. He's not getting as many first team reps. Too bad. Iggy, you had to wait 10 years before you could make it in this business. I didn't get my first job, which was at the San Francisco Chronicle, till I was 34. And I thought I was really hot stuff. Life is tough. I don't have any particular feeling for Trey Lance. It's tough for me, for you, for him. Let's move on. That's how I feel.
I don't want to talk about Trey Lance. The way I look at it is that Trey Lance is a footnote for now. He's a backup quarterback, and this quarterback competition is a backup quarterback competition, which I've never heard of. I've never heard of a backup quarterback competition. I want to talk about Brock Purdy, Dad, because he's not Joe Montana, and he's not the starting quarterback of this team. He's the leader in the clubhouse. He was the third-string quarterback last year who started because of injury on a team that was on a 4-game winning streak and kept the winning streak going, and then he tore his UCL. If he hadn't torn his UCL, I would understand giving him all the first-string reps. If he were there for every single practice, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, no torn UCL, no rehab, sure, he can be the starter for now. But he did tear his UCL. He did miss OTAs and minicamp. He can't play every day. He can practice 2 days on and 2 days off because he's not back. He's not himself yet. So this is Brock Purdy 2.0 coming off an injury, like at 75%. I'm not convinced he gives him the best chance to win. Maybe last year's Brock did, but this year's I'm not sure that he is. Watching him, I feel like he's the worst quarterback out there. I feel like he's the one committing the most turnovers. And I think if Kyle really wanted to find out who the best quarterback is to start week 1, he'd make it a real quarterback competition instead of a backup quarterback competition, which isn't a competition at all. That's how I feel. We got to talk about Brock, Dad. It's not about Trey anymore. It's about Brock.
Okay, I got a question that pertains to Brock. And you have legitimate concerns about Brock. Who gives them a better chance to win than Brock Purdy?
Trey Lance.
Why?
Because Trey Lance is healthy. Trey Lance is the best he's ever been. Brock is not. Brock is about 75% of what he was last year. He's been cleared to play, but he can't throw 3 days in a row. He's just getting into it. Maybe in December, when he's gotten his feet underneath him, he's 100% healthy, maybe then he'll give the Niners the best chance to win. But I would go with either Trey or Darnold, someone who's been on the team, someone who's been to every single practice like Purdy was last year. I think preparation and practice matters. Now, if Brock Purdy were Joe Montana, 27-year-old Joe Montana, forget training camp. Just roll out week 1 and play. But he's not that guy. I think the offseason matters. And that's why I think he's struggling at training camp right now.
Why? Why is he struggling?
Because he's 75% healthy. He's 75% of what he was, and he's rusty. And he hasn't had time on task. And he's Brock Purdy. He's not Joe Montana.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to, I love what you're saying. I want to point out some things. Last season, and I understand he's not the same guy, but last season, over a significant stretch of games, he did really well.
He did.
He did. No other quarterback on this team has done that.
Nope.
No other quarterback. Nope. So, again, I'm trying to think like
but that doesn't mean he's going to do that again coming off this injury next year.
I understand that. That. If I were Kyle Shanahan, I would give him most of the first team reps because I think he's earned them, and he's the only one who's shown that he can win over an extended period of time.
Fair. Can I ask you a question real quick? What if Purdy continues to struggle with these first string reps and Lance improve, or Darnold, one of the two, takes a step? Because remember, every third day, Purdy can't physically throw, and Lance and Darnold split the first team reps. What if in 3 weeks, it's just like, man, Purdy's not our best quarterback, at least according to practice?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. If I were Kyle Shanahan, I would let Purdy play himself out of the job. I would. I'd give him most of the first team reps. But if he doesn't do well, I would begin to elevate other guys. I would favor him. But if in fact on the third day that he doesn't practice, the other guys do better, then I'd begin to change the equation. So I don't think we're that far apart on this, but
No.
I would let him play himself out of the job. I would give him that benefit of the doubt because of how well he played. I would. Now I have another question. So I think we're not that far apart, Iggy.
But we are. We are disagreeing. I feel like if Brock Purdy had never gotten injured, even if he had never gotten injured, 8 games is not much of a resume. It's not much to say that I'm better than someone else. But he did get injured. He did miss half the offseason. He is behind and rusty. He is 75%. I'm not sure that he gives them the best chance to win week 1. And the fact that Kyle has decided that already on August 1st is, I disagree with it.
Okay, he hasn't decided that already. He's just favoring the guy.
True.
He's my number one guy now.
True.
What I think he's doing is he's giving him a chance to keep the job or play himself out of the job. I think that's what he's doing, and I think that's fair to him and to the team. Because no one else, including Trey Lance, has shown that degree, what the kid showed last season, of sophistication and poise. You could say that Trey Lance has improved his mechanics. We'll see in a real game how we don't know yet. So we may or may not be disagreeing, but I think I would favor that kid. Yes.
Here's my issue with Brock. Last year he played great. He had a lot of interceptions dropped. In camp, he had 2 interceptions dropped today. If those become real interceptions, because in college, he had this issue. He threw a bunch of picks in college. He fell to the last pick in the draft for a reason. This is a big one. If this ends up being an issue for him the way it was with Jimmy Garoppolo, if they lose week 1 to Pittsburgh and he starts, that's going to open up the door for Sam Darnold or Trey Lance right there. So Kyle can make up his mind, but he has to get this right. Because if Brock isn't ready, if he's 75%, if he goes into Pittsburgh and loses, then what does last year mean? That he's a different guy. Yeah.
I agree, Iggy. Kyle has to get this right.
Has to.
I'm saying that it's fair, since I believe he's favoring Brock Purdy, for him to give him most of the action right now. But he does. We agree. He has to get it right. I have a question for you. Maybe we have a bet here.
Okay.
Who do you think is the starting quarterback against Pittsburgh?
Purdy.
I think so too.
I think he will be, and I'm not sure that that's the right call. But I'm not sure that Kyle necessarily reacts to what happens in training camp anyway. I mean, he made Trey Lance start week 1 just because that's what he wanted to do. That was the plan.
Yeah. But it's interesting. We both think Purdy will start. You're thinking he'll start against Pittsburgh because Kyle is stubborn. Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking he'll start because he's the best of the 4.
Maybe both are correct. Maybe neither's correct. We'll see. But we should make a bet, right?
Yeah. Well,
we can't because we both have him starting week 1.
Yeah, I thought if you were going to say Trey Lance or one of the other Schlemiels that I would bet, but there's no bet there.
One of the other Schlemiels. Dad, I'm not sure that Brock's not a Schlemiel. If we're talking Schlemiels, we're throwing that word around. I don't know about Brock, Dad. I've seen this happen with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy won his first 7 starts. Jimmy had a lot of success. But when you're limited, defenses figure it out and they constrict. They constrict and they get you eventually. So we'll see. We'll see. I feel like it's happening. I mean, the Niners have a great defense. Maybe they do it to everyone, but Brock is throwing a lot of interceptions in camp, Dad. It's alarming. Can't do that on this team. Can't lose the game with picks.
How many picks did he throw today?
None. They were dropped.
Okay, no, but they were
two. And Trey didn't. Darnold didn't. It's like, okay, this is what Jimmy used to do. Are you Jimmy? Are you a cheap, younger, more mobile version of Jimmy? In some ways, yes.
You're pretty down on Brock Purdy.
I'm sorry. We all loved Brock Purdy last year. Great story. Saved the season. He was freaking King Arthur. That's all over with. Now you're being handed the starting job with no OTAs or minicamp. It doesn't matter how many picks you throw in camp. You get all the first string reps while Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, who've been here all year and actually are having good days, there's nothing. They're competing with themselves to be backup. I think you got to look at them different now. Like, now you are on the same level as Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're a starting quarterback in the NFL. None of this good story stuff. None of this what a cute guy stuff. Like, no. Do you deserve to be a starting quarterback on this team? Maybe.
Okay. I got another question for you. Boy, you're worked up. I love it.
You wanted to talk about Trey. I want to talk about Brock.
Now I want to talk about Kyle.
Okay.
How much confidence do you have that Kyle will make the right choice for the starting quarterback against Pittsburgh?
0%.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because last year, he was so impressed with Brock Purdy in training camp that he made him the third string quarterback. He saw it, Dad. He saw it. So now, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Kyle Shanahan. No, I don't think he's gonna get it right. He'll have to see what happens in the games like the rest of us and go from there.
Yeah, I don't feel that he's all that perceptive about quarterbacks, which is a problem since it's the most important position in sports, in all of sports. So I think we do agree on that. I don't have that much confidence in him to make the right decisions for the right reasons. I still think Brock Purdy will start because he's the best of the four, but that's to be seen.
Yeah. Again, if Brock hadn't hurt himself, I could see it. What he did was great, even though it was half a season. But still, he did. He missed half an off season. He's not himself. I'm looking at him. He's like 75% Brock. He's Brock with like a C but no K.
I got it. And I want to point out that you're there every day and I'm sitting around the house, not there. So I don't see what you see. And I have to give you credit for that and maybe an edge for that.
I guess the question, I'm not trying to beat you, but the question is, does it matter what he does in training camp or is he past that?
I think it matters. And again, I don't know Kyle Shanahan. But I think he's not an idiot, and I think if the kid keeps screwing up and the other guys really do well, he'll have to adjust his thinking. I do think, and the question is, can he do it?
Put Trey Lance aside. Put Trey Lance aside. You loved Trey Lance at one time. It seems like you've soured on him. What about Sam Darnold? You just called Sam Darnold the next Steve Young last week, or said, why can't he be? So if Brock struggles, you have so many options that you say you like. What's the deal? Or are you just desperately hoping Brock Purdy comes back, or are you lying when you talk about that quarterback room? I thought it was a room. I thought it was a room full of people. Is it just Brock? What was it? I don't know. I don't know.